And we're live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to another high vibe conversation. We are happy to kick off our inaugural New Year conversation talking about awareness. I'm your host, Shell Shapiro. With me today are the lovely high vibe women. We apologize for the delay. We were experiencing some sound issues, but we are still here for you and ready to share. So let's dive in, shall we? Today, again, the topic is awareness. And there are so many ways to be more aware. And I don't just mean self-aware, right? I'm talking about noticing the external factors, your surroundings, what's going on all around you, in addition to your internal dialogue and all the things that are happening within your mind, heart, body, everywhere, through and through. So I'm going to start with Linda today. Talk to me about what's coming up for you when you think about awareness.
I always get taken to that self-awareness. And part of that then is like, where am I feeling something? Just focusing on I guess the number one thing that happens for me in my body is like I can really see my hands shaking. So if something's bothering me, if I'm upset, that's probably where I feel it or even see it the most. And then it's like a drill down, kind of self-coaching, like where is that really coming from? I might know that a certain person triggered me. It's more of drilling down to why it's triggering me and what is my next step, or is there a next step? Is it really that person's issue, that person's problem? So that's what I've noticed about, like, when it comes to self-awareness and the body. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And when it comes to being more self-aware, especially when your hands start to shake or you feel yourself being triggered in another way, once you're aware of those things that are going on and what might be happening, what, if anything needs to be done about it, and whose issue and responsibility that is, what are some ways that you can take action to make changes if there is a course of action to be taken?
Yeah, well, it could be like reaching out to that person. Some people, it's just not worth reaching out because, like, they haven't done their own self work. And you're just like Jenny. I love how Jenny says, just being really honest, um, allowing other people to be their authentic selves and then seeing that for what it is. Like, we can't control people, we can't change people. So if it makes sense to bring it up and there's somebody who can handle putting something in the center instead of feeling like they're being personally attacked, that's one. So it's like using your judgment, so to speak. Like, is this worth even bringing up? But if you're gonna stay in a relationship with that person, then how not bringing it up is going to further affect the relationship. Like, it make it worse too. So yeah, it's just kind of a judgment call, intuitive judgment call, um, and bringing it up from a really neutral place. Just owning it, like, when you said this is how I reacted, and I wasn't sure what you meant, or I wasn't sure what you were thinking. This is what I was thinking. You know, did it bother you as well? And just you know, staying connected in the conversation. So, because we're all different, we all have our own triggers, and something that it didn't really mean that, but it felt like it meant that, really gives a eye-opening awareness to the other person, that when they say something a certain way, it does trigger you. So we're just learning each other's triggers and being gentle and kind with one another.
I love that, being kind with one another, while also staying connected. This reminds me a lot of John Chappellier's "Accept It, Change It, or Leave It." Like once you are aware of what's going on, you then have a decision to make, and you make that choice of whether you can live with it and let it keep going if you want to change it, or if you want to like get rid of it altogether and leave it behind. So I love the parallel there. Um, the other thing that's coming up for me as you're talking about these triggers and stuff is my own self-awareness of like the ways that I trigger myself sometimes, and being very self-aware to notice those things. And now that some of those things like are my self-sabotaging patterns that work I work tirelessly sometimes to like try to break out of that cycle. But once I do, and I'll give you an example of that in just a second, once I do become more and more aware of those things, I start noticing when they're happening, not just within myself, but when other people are doing them too. So that awareness then takes on a whole different level and meaning to it, because then I have to then separate, well, what's true about me if I'm noticing it in other people, and recognizing that it's not my responsibility to change that in other people just because I want to change it in myself. Um, I do see that Jenny has something to share, and I'm going to read that in just a second before I lose this thought. The example that I wanted to give of the way that some of the self-sabotaging habits that I've recognized in myself is the procrastination. Is a big one for me. And I'm not procrastinating because I don't want to take action and do the thing. It's that story that I've told myself for years and years and years of I do it better under a last minute deadline. I am better under pressure. I'll just wait till the last second, it'll come out better. Well, recognizing that I don't need to thrive in that chaos. I can do just as well, if not better, when I'm not in that rushed state, will actually better serve me and give me more clarity and allow me to be more present, and give more time and dedication and energy to it, as opposed to just putting it all in this tiny little burst and hoping for the best, or just praying for like a good outcome, and then having, being okay with it no matter where it lands. So recognizing my procrastination tendency has been huge. But the other awareness that I've had lately is, once I know that I actively procrastinate on a lot of things that I've said I want to do, that I've said I want to accomplish, that I want, like, that I feel good about doing, and realize that I'm still avoiding doing it, is like, it's a game changer, because now I know I can ask other people to hold me accountable to get that done. And it happened even over the holidays, where I said, this is what I want to get done in the next 3 months. And 10 minutes later, I was still avoiding it. Okay, I could have just gotten it done right then. Why am I still circulating? What's coming up for me that I'm noticing that I'm avoiding this still? And so I talked to somebody and broke it down, and it became, oh, well, what's that next small step? You break it down into like these digestible pieces, and like you unpack like what that scariness is, that fear is. And I was like, somebody asked me, well, what would you do to take that next step? And I said, well, I'd brain dump everything that I know to be true about it. Okay. All of a sudden, I was like literally writing out this whole outline, because I just started writing everything that I know to be true about the thing. And lo and behold, like, the thing got done because it came out of that brain dump, out of those true facts. Taking that small action allowed me to then make more small actions to make progress. And so it's that awareness and then the action part that goes hand in hand for me, because even when I know sometimes that I need to take action, that I want to take action, and that I'll do better once I do take action, I have to get out of my own way in order to do it. So that awareness for me has been a game changer. Now to Jenny's awareness, she said that awareness is like the third dimension, knowledge and understanding being the first and second dimension. 1, knowledge. I know I want this in the future. The second part of that is understanding. I understand how to get there. Then that third part is awareness. I'm connected with this moment and myself, allowing the experience to guide me moving forward, and I am aware how to create that future. Wow, Jenny. And again, Jenny, we're having some sound issues today, and that's why I am reading Jenny's dialogue. So she is still present with us and part of this conversation. And I love those insights, Jenny, about the recognizing the first and second dimension and then adding in that third layer. I see you nodding in agreement, Stina. So what's coming up for you as you hear us talk about awareness?
So I'm going to share, I looked up the etymology of awareness and noticing, because those are the two words that really stand out to me. That awareness comes from words that mean, excuse me, that mean watchful, vigilant, wary, cautious, to perceive, or to watch out for. So like that's, to me, awareness is like a state of awareness. It's almost like having a metal detector on. You're kind of like, it's like this scanning awareness of your environment, people, your own energy, like whichever direction it's going in or out, but being kind of watchful and noticing. Whenever I use the word noticing, I think of Linda, because that's a Linda word in my mind, that to just notice something, because noticing is very neutral. It doesn't make meaning out of something. It's just noting it, right? And notice comes from words that mean information, knowledge, intelligence, come to know, get to know. So there's this idea of just knowing, and Shell, even you brought in that, like, this is what I know to be true. So there's that element of just noticing. And for me, that's kind of bringing my attention to something. So awareness is a little bit broader in my mind, of just kind of being aware. And it's like awareness is my capacity to notice, right? If I'm not aware, I'm not going to notice things going on that I need to respond to. And when I notice something, then like you also mentioned, you can go into that, like, what am I going to do with it? Right? Like, what am I going to do with this thing that I've noticed? And for me, a big piece of awareness of myself has been learning my human design, and kind of building on my understanding of my human design, so that I'm very aware of certain rhythms that I have. So I kind of run in these seasonal rhythms, and it's not necessarily seasons by the book of spring, winter, fall, summer, like that. But, like a 3-month cycle. This week I opened the fridge to make lunch, and I was like, I have nothing to eat, which is not true. I have all kinds of options to eat. But the things that I've been eating for lunch, like literally overnight, I'm just like, I'm done with all of those foods and I need something else for lunch. And I've watched myself, because I have this awareness that I kind of operate in these cycles of kind of a 3-month season. Something shifts the way that I want to spend my time, the way that I eat. Like, it's just a natural shift to something different. And being able to notice those patterns and put that together has been really empowering for me, because I feel like the should is that I should have a routine and stick to the routine, right? You have like these ideas of the miracle morning, and these certain ways that you're supposed to manage your time, but that doesn't ever work for me longer than 3 months. Like, I need to be aware, open, and noticing all of the time what little things are shifting for me, what bigger things are shifting for me. So my work has been really busy. I've been working lots of evenings. I've been just kind of a little bit in survival mode of like, just get through it. And I'm noticing my adrenals I can just feel that edge. I'm starting to draw on some of my reserves with work. I'm just noticing how it's affecting me in different ways. And I'm like, okay, it's time to move up my bedtime. It's time to, do my work in a different part of the day. So my like the dream day that I'm working towards, that really I could shift within the next 2 weeks. I can make this happen for myself, is get all of my work done before noon. It's possible. And the reward of having from noon to 3 to myself every day, even if I have to go get my kids from school, sounds so blissful that there is a strong motivation behind that for me. Um, and that's like hard writing time, like put all my creative energy into it, but then like have time to go work out, have time to go on a walk, have time to go to the grocery store if I need to, like just feel like I have space for myself. And so there's all these like nuances, I feel like, of how my energy flows that I can be so much more responsive to when I'm just aware and noticing, versus feeling like there's a right way to do it or a wrong way to do it, or even beating myself up like I'm working evenings because it's just necessary in this particular season. I know it's not a long-term thing. I'm not freaking out that I'm going to burn myself out. I'm just like, I'm kind of riding the edge. So, be careful and like, let's get through this and let's make some changes. And that feels very honoring of myself. It feels much more gentle. And I think that even if you notice that you're overworking yourself, it's like coming to terms with like, yep, that's how it is right now. And we're going to kind of move out of this. And that's okay. And just having that like bringing that lightness to it makes the extra work and the longer hours not so draining and treacherous. Because I think that when you're overwhelmed, part of what is overwhelming is thinking about how overwhelmed you are. Like, get caught in that cycle.
Yeah. The cycle of overwhelmness, if you will, it feels like if forever thing, as opposed to letting yourself, giving yourself that gentle reminder, like, okay, this is how it is right now, but it's not going to stay this way. We just need to do what we need to do. And I love that you give yourself permission to make the changes and course correct and adjust for yourself so that you can be better, so that you can not burn out. But you notice when you're riding that like extra energy, like when you're losing steam and momentum, when you feel like you've been in a routine for too long and something subtly needs to shift. You mentioned your 3-month cycle that you do things in seasons. I also operate in 3-month bunches of time, quarters, if you will, although they don't necessarily align with the quarters of the calendar year. But I literally get that 3-month or start to get that like 3-month itch to like change things up. And I literally bounce from coast to coast to be able to change my environment. And those are not subtle shifts. I literally just shock the crap out of my system and then spend the next 3 months recalibrating. But that's something that I've been noticing and enjoying because I like that shaking up. It's not like for me, that doing it in a more slow way would be kinder and gentler to my body and my state of mind overall. But I feel like I have more energy and exhilaration, if that makes sense, when I just go, look, okay, we're ripping this Band-Aid off, we're doing it. And the pieces will all work themselves out and come together how they need to. But I do notice that same 3-month kind of thing where, okay, I'm ready for some changes. I'm ready for some adjustments, and then we'll figure it out as we go. Trying to keep barreling through and noticing that that doesn't work for me, like you said, that overwhelm feels like forever. Forever was my word, not yours. But like it just keeps going on and on sometimes. And that's my way of knowing that I need to break that cycle and change things up. So I love that we have some similarities there, but we also do it in totally different ways. And it works for us. Jenny has shared with us that when we are aware, it's easier to trust the process because we see how the pieces go together. And yes, I 1000% agree with that. If I could give you a higher percentage, Jenny, I would. It's just, yes, being able to trust in ourselves, trust in the things around us, and trust in just like everything, to just everything will come together. Trust is a big one for me. I feel like that's a whole other topic for conversation that might shift away from awareness, but trust is a big one because a lot of times I lose that trust in myself. And that's when I start second guessing. And even that's the subtle shift of like procrastination, because I'm holding myself back from doing the thing because there's some like self-doubt and distrust in myself to do the thing. And once I break through that and I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. And then that's when other people can see it too. Because if I don't trust myself, if we don't trust in ourselves and everything that's going on, like how can we expect anybody else to? So just wanted to make that connection because I love that it went there. Stina, I saw you on mute. What you got?
I'm trying to remember. It was not that long ago. Like, I just got wrapped up
We were
in what you
talking
were
about
saying,
trust.
and then I was like, what in the world was I going to say? I think it was something about, it was that one piece of awareness that, awareness is like a spectrum. And for me, there's like the healthier end of awareness and then the unhealthy or unhelpful end of awareness. Because when you become aware, I think for a lot of us, that kind of vigilance can be from a trauma response where we had to be so aware of everyone around us and everything around us. And you mentioned, Shell, like the procrastination and like not having to thrive under pressure, but allowing ourselves space. And for me, part of that with awareness is just because I'm aware of something, just because I've noticed something, doesn't mean that it's mine to fix or change or do anything about. And so learning how to be aware and notice and then just kind of let things be is really important, because I have found the other thing about shifting in seasons for me is that as I've become more aware of that cycle, I'm a lot more responsive. I don't want to say quickly, but it's just like I'm very attuned to my own needs. So I'm like, okay, like nothing sounds good for lunch. Now, instead of being like, oh, I don't have an appetite and like, am I too anxious and what's going on? I'm just like, oh, like, what are you needing, body? And like, I'm just like tuning into like, what's new, what's different. And being aware of other people, right? And your environment. There's a lot of things that someone else may be feeling, someone else may be experiencing, and it's not mine to carry in any way or to fix. And I think that's really important, because if you're going to be somebody who's very aware, then you get to balance that with also knowing that just because you're aware of it, just because you've noticed it, doesn't mean that you have to fix it. Otherwise, you turn your whole life into fixing yourself, fixing other people, fixing situations. And I think that the more aware that I am of my own cycles and rhythms and what feels good to me, the less unintentional shakeup happens. So, when you're in self-sabotage cycles is when, you get overwhelmed and then you do things that bring you back down. instead of when you have a gentler awareness and you kind of hold it with an open hand, you can move through those transitions without feeling like you have to like, just like flip the table and just send everything flying, to like keep yourself busy, right, with what's going on. Um, so yeah, learning how to like find that balance, I think, is important. Or flow maybe is better than, I don't really like the word balance because nothing's ever really balanced. But there's flow.
I'm just thinking about, and I know I've said this on many a live. This is where Jenny is knowing where you end and the other person begins, how Jenny always says that. But it really works here in the context of like not noticing everything that's going on doesn't necessarily mean that you need to jump in and fix that problem, as you were sharing, Stina. And I've been noticing things all around me lately that I'm like, all right, this is chaos mode. This is not mine. I'm going to leave this over here and I'm going to be over here. Can't see my hands, but they're at opposite sides of the room. And I'm just, it's not my thing to dwell on, but I have that awareness. I've noticed it. And now I can shift my focus away from it. Shift is not necessarily the right word, but direct my attention elsewhere where it needs to be. And Jenny's added in being aware there are more decisions to make. Like Stina says, when we grow out of our testicles? I don't know what that word is. Oh, okay. Tentacles. All right. I went where she didn't want us to go. When we grow out of our tentacles, I think that's still the word that you wanted us
I think
to
she's saying like like when you have antenna, like awareness antenna tentacles,
okay.
and you're like noticing and feeling more.
Thank you for
things.
clarifying that,
There we
because
go.
I'm trying to read as I'm reading it for the first time.
There you go.
When we grow out of our antenna, we pick up information that there's a question of, should I act on this? And it's easy to get decision fatigue. For people who are codependent and highly sensitive, for example, it's important to heal our relationship with the value of responsibility. Not testicles. Sorry. Yeah. That word responsibility really just like hits.
It's been really helpful for me to go like to kind of put the boundary this is an internal boundary. It's not something that has to be spoken to anyone else, but to just be like, I'm gonna just live my life, and if someone has a problem with me, they're going to have to come to me and tell me, period. That's it. Like, and if I have a problem with someone else, I trust myself to, have the courage. We've talked about emotional courage. Have the courage to go have that difficult conversation, let that person know how I'm feeling, speak up when my needs are unmet. And if I am going to conduct myself in that way, there's no reason that I shouldn't expect other fully grown adults around me to also be able to do the same, which means there's like an entire world of thoughts that I don't ever need to indulge in, because I don't need to be guessing if someone is upset with me or has a problem with me or any of those things. That's their responsibility to speak up about, and there's like, you have close people that you can like check in with, like, hey, is something going on here? But there's very few people that you don't need to monitor them, right? They may be just having a bad day and it has nothing to do with you. And the people pleasing awareness is, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? What do I need to fix? Like, how did this happen? And now I'm just like, if there's a problem, that person needs to address it, not me. So it's been very healing.
Would you like to speak more about that imposter syndrome type of thinking, Linda?
Well, I don't know. It's just guessing what others are thinking. That's part of imposter syndrome. So, you know, stay on your side of the fence. Yeah. That's really kind of the bottom line of that one.
I think the bottom line here is that we can all take notice of the things that are going on around us and make decisions for ourselves, and become more aware of what we will and won't do, where we end, where somebody else begins, what we need for ourselves rather than being influenced by what we think somebody else wants for us. And that awareness can be so powerful. So we've covered so many parts of awareness today, from internal and external factors to your inner dialogue, and things that might be going on within you, and how you can start noticing what's going on and start making subtle changes, or throw yourself in the deep end, as I sometimes do, and make a radical change. But regardless, that awareness and that decision is yours. Because once you're aware, you can't be unaware. You can't go back. And I think that's a great place for us to end for the day. So I leave you with this. If you're enjoying these high vibe conversations, please make sure to follow along, catch up on some of the previous conversations, connect with us on your platform of choice. We're here for you. We love having these conversations. We will be bringing more and more of them to you, and we're happy to have you with us. So until next time, we're the high vibe ladies, and we're going to say bye for now.